Listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve, and today we're going to be doing something that we've had a bunch of requests for, which is updating our top 10 best SH Monsters figures and our top 5 most disappointing MonsterArts figures. And we're going to do both those videos into one by doing a Tiermaker list, because super fun to do. To see a lot of people use this stuff. We've done this previously with updating the Godzilla list way back in the day. But figured it'd be a fun little way to kind of update and just kind of crapshoot some of these figures. Because I will say some of these I have never owned, but for the most part, for repaints, I'm going to kind of treat them as the original versions, because I own at least some version of each of these figures in my collection. Just maybe not like all the repaints, if you will. But other than that, the only other noticeable thing is Arnez isn't here to give his opinions. He's currently not feeling good, and he got tested recently, so make sure to comment down below. Send him your wishes. But other than that, I think we're just going to get into this. So, with the 1974 Mechagodzilla. Also, if you guys didn't know, I should probably talk about that too. With Tiermaker, it's kind of like it's literally just a list website. So you have your ranks you could set up. I could even change these if I wanted to. But for S, it's going to be the best of the figures, and F would be definitely the worst of the figures. Which I will say for MonsterArts, I know like especially a lot of people on the disappointing list are very upset because some figures we had on that list people still enjoyed, which I will say they're disappointing figures from that list. I wouldn't say they're bad or horrendous or God, why did you buy those figures? It's just compared to a lot of the other MonsterArts figures, there's definitely some that are better than others and vice versa. But anyways, back to the 74. For instance, I'm going to put this guy in B. From what I can remember, really liked the figure. The details are really good. The only real nitpick I got with this thing is mainly the joints were a bit frustrating with the plates. But it comes with accessories, and it's nice that he could have like the flaps come down and stuff like that. And I think if it wasn't for the joints and him being kind of scary posable, he definitely would probably be higher on this list. He even could have possibly been up here. Next, this is actually a set I don't own. It's not going to be an F, which is the special colored Battra sets, which I actually really like the Battra sets. Or at least Battra. Like, I like them individually. The larva is definitely, I think, the better of the two. From what I remember with the joints for Battra. Because I'm going to say that a lot from what I remember. Because I haven't played with these in a while. They sit on a shelf for the most part. But Battra, especially with the stand, was kind of scary too. So even though it's updated colors and you get the special effects, I'm going to put A. This is going to be a weird one. Like this one, the Mothra is going to be a little weird. Because you also got beam effects, if I'm not mistaken, with this too. So you got a little bit more bang for your buck. The color is not super off-putting for the original Battra. Like the original Battra, I'm going to actually stick that thing in a C. It's mainly like this is A here because I love that Battra figure. But the Battra itself was just kind of meh for the most part. Actually, we should probably just get through those right now because it's mostly, I feel, the same for Mothra. Because again, it's the little joints kind of get frustrating to deal with a little bit. Same with the stands. You got to be a little bit careful with that thing being on top of there. But these two are definitely the more movie accurate ones. So I'm glad that I personally have these ones. But with the other ones, you get the Mothra larva and effects pieces, which is always better. Though I will say, and my dog's shaking in the background, I'm actually going to put the sets in the B category just because the Mothra larva isn't really that impressive, personally. If I can find the actual set. Oh, there we go. The set I'll set in A because again I really love the Battra figure, and it's like this figure is kind of worth just having on its own, and then the Mothra larva is just like it's cool. But it's just a really solid figure like this, especially the way that they did the larvas too, with them being able to actually sort of replicate their movements to help with stop motion. I always thought was really cool. Next we got we'll do the Godzilla anime ones, which I do really like the figure. It was even in our top 10 for the year. But I will say, I'm probably going to toss him in B after some thought, and then put the later release one above it, just because it came with extra stuff. For the most part, kind of the same figure, just like the face was a little bit different on it. But again, extra stuff is always better. And for the most part, like the posability has a nice heft, nice detailing, color goes really good, and especially for how much I really don't like those animes. And you guys can go check out the reviews if you would like to know more about the history on that. But the figures were solid; those are super solid. Rebirth Godzilla, well, not Rebirth, Burning Godzilla, I should say, and just almost essentially any mold of that. Uh, if I wasn't lagging, faster. Get up there. Get in your S where you belong. Burning Godzilla is just a fantastic figure. Love the detailing. Articulation is great. And there's a reason why they kept reusing this mold over and over and over and over again. It's just because it's definitely a very standout piece, and especially with each of the versions kind of having their own effects pieces. Trying to find where they have the special colored one. This one, I almost want to stick an A though, because it is the same figure, and it's nice that it has the smoke effect. But the coloring for me, there's a reason I didn't get it. I didn't really care for the very glossy finish. Like he almost kind of looks like he's coming out of water, but the smoke effect was cool. So it's kind of tomato. Like some people might prefer that a little bit better. Like again, you get the smoke effects. For the other ones, we can kind of just start tossing up here too, just to get them out of here. Because I saw the Evangelion one. Where did he go? I'd say let me know where it is, but Ava one I'm gonna put in B. It's a cool color scheme. Again, like the mold itself isn't S, but the color is definitely you got to be really into that thing. And I really love Evangelion, and I still never actually acquired that thing. I can also toss the Rebirth Godzilla up into the S class as well. Let's see. We got the poster Godzilla. That one, we're kind of going to stick into the same area here with the Evangelion one. It's kind of got to be like really good mold, but you kind of got to be into that color scheme. We'll come back to some of the others. Oh, we got the original Godzilla, which that one I'll put in A. Like it's a solid figure. Like the gapping was a little bit of an issue, but still looks really good. Came with a beam effect, which is always a solid thing too. And for the most part, like this was like your cornerstone Godzilla figure until the Burning Godzilla mold came out, and then that kind of circumvented that one. Well, we got the movie one here, 2019. So I guess we'll move on to that one. Which for the Burning, personally, I think it's a B. It's still a really solid figure for the most part. Like they're all pretty solid. It's just again, and like with the review we did, wasn't super into the coloring the way it was. Like I think it could be a little bit more consistent, and then I don't think it really matched the movie quite well. But still, pretty decent figure. The poster one though, I'm gonna put in C because you have to really be into that mold to want to pick that up. Poster, I'm gonna stick an A because for the most part, I think between each version of that, that's definitely the one you probably want to get because the way the spines are done, I really liked, and also comes with the beam effect, which seemed weird that the original came with a beam effect. Not gonna complain because it's always nice to have beam effects, which I'm gonna stick that one in B here too. But the poster one's definitely like the best one to be displaying with all the other monsters, I feel. For Biollante, easily my favorite of the monsters, my favorite Godzilla monster. As a figure, mm, I'm gonna put an A here. This one I might be a little biased on, just because I really like Biollante. That it's just a very hefty MonsterArts figure. The posability for it's a little can be frustrating because the vines can, at least I noticed on mine, tend to pop off a little bit better, and then it has the weird under chin joint that you have to kind of like adjust to make things look right, and depending on the pose, it can kind of throw you off a little bit. We just added the special color here too, because there isn't really too much of a difference between the coloring there, uh, to really make me feel like they have to be in different categories. And then I had a lighter feature, which is something that's really nice to see. Destroyer. I'm gonna put Destroyer in B and C. Special color B, regular one in C. Mainly because personally, the wings are a bit terrifying, which that kind of knocks it down a little bit for me. That and it's a really awesome looking figure, but I don't know. The head always just looked a little off to me, and I don't know. I just never was quite as thrilled with it as some of the other monsters, especially in the Heisei run. The special color one, on the other hand, I like came with extra parts, with the tanks, and then the coloring on it was nice too. And I kind of like the eyes a little bit better than the translucent one, which also kind of off-putted me a little bit for that. Rodan. Fire Rodan, Fire Rodan, Fire Rodan. I want to put him in D because as a figure, you get this is like the tough one because he's essentially just an accessory set. Like he's a Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla accessory set. So, but he's a really good-looking Rodan. I guess we'll put him in. We'll put him in C. I want to put him in B, but I feel like as a figure, Rodan's just kind of meh. And it's not like a bad meh, but his wings have a little bit issue with sagging. There's also just him just not being a very large figure to begin with. So there isn't really like that much you can do, especially with, for the most part, kind of having to be relying on the stand to use him anyways. His value kind of goes up with you more if you're how much you really like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or how much of a completionist you are. But just as a figure for itself, it's just okay. I guess you guys could probably know where this is going. Just never was really happy with this set. Like individually, they are kind of cool, but there's too many parts that could pop off of them. The flying form didn't come with a stand, so it's kind of annoying to display that thing. And yeah, it's just essentially it's an accessory set for your Destroyer figure, and just being a general release, never was that thrilled about it. Not bad per se, but just not really pleased with it. Now the Shins, I already kind of put them on here. We have the Awakened Shin, I think is S tier, because it comes with everything you essentially want with a Shin Godzilla. I personally think, mold wise, the MonsterArts Shin Godzilla is easily the best action figure we've gotten of Shin Godzilla. And only really like the X Plus and like the Bant Presto really kind of rival it in terms of detailing. And with the Awakened release, I think they nailed the paint job pretty well with it. The regular release one, I think a lot of people give it a little bit too much flack. Yes, it did sometimes have a little bit too much red in the neck, which is why I'm going to put it in B, because I still think, like, as the mold and the articulation, it is an awesome figure. But the paint job work kind of hinders. Put the Frozen Shin in C, because personally, I kind of like it better than the regular release, because it's a very unique figure. But it's kind of weird that they made a statue into like a posable figure thing. But still neat. We also have the Godzilla Store exclusive version. I'm gonna kind of, I'm gonna put that in D personally. I feel like that's very niche in terms of wanting that. Like you're mainly buying that as a completionist or you just really enjoy the look. But outside of that, there isn't really much of a reason because like poster version kind of can circumvent that. This ties into an anime. This is just kind of like a color to be a color. It's kind of the same with these guys with forms 2 and 3. I'm gonna toss them in the same bracket. You kind of, if you're in, you have to be very specific in wanting those. But for the regular ones, which I'm kind of confused on why they have them separate, which is weird because they came in a box set. As a box set, I would put these guys in C. Definitely the third form I think is the more impressive of the two, but for the most part you get what you expected. It's mainly like the coloring kind of throws you off a little bit, and then yeah, they're a little pricey for two small-ish figures, but still pretty solid. Like C's definitely middle of the road for me. We have the 2000 Godzillas, special color and regular release. Personally, I'm gonna stick these guys in B. Good solid Godzilla figures. Not really much else to say about it. They don't really come with any extra accessories. It's kind of like, do you want what color spine you want between the two? And it's also not technically the suit from Godzilla 2000. Like these were concept ones. So if they were like how they were, but the actual ones, I'd put them up a little bit higher. But them kind of being a little bit not as niche as some of these other ones, but still, you gotta kind of have a taste for them. And then, who the heck is this? We already have Anime Godzilla on the list, right? Oh, I think this is 2014, right? 2014. I'm gonna say B, C. We'll say B. Solid figure, but didn't really come with much. I think, did he have the Muto head? Or the Muto head the Spitfire have? Spitfire, for me, I really like the Spitfire. We're going to put him in A. Because he has the breath effect. I like the dorsal spines. Thought he was really cool, really solid. Poster one, toss it in C. Because, again, kind of in the niche category. Like, I never really bothered to have that one, but I do actually own the other two because they showed up in the film. 54. Toss that in A. Really like the design. Articulation is nice. The detailing on the figure is nice. To be honest, I kind of wish the eyes were a little more like one of the only times I wish they kind of had more goofy eyes. For the most part, a lot of these Godzillas are gonna kind of fall into that. Like I really like the 62, so we'll toss that in A for mostly the same reasons as the 54. But 64, I'm gonna toss in B. Same. We'll toss you in C. The regular version is a good. It's been alright figure, but like in terms of scaling, it doesn't really work with anything because they made them smaller, and that's kind of not officially them trying to make it work with the Revolt text, but it scales a little bit better with the Revolt text than your standard MonsterArts figure. And I think a lot of that too is they wanted to have it kind of like sized differently than the Heiseis because that's just different size for the Kaijus at the time. But by itself, it doesn't really work quite as well, and it was kind of compared to some of the other ones you get now a little pricey for what you get. But with the Dusty version, you get the breath effect, which I think makes it a little bit more desirable. Paint jobs, I think, is the thing that's maybe a little bit more off-putting than having the original because it does have like the sand on the back of it. But again, extra accessories always a win. Triple K, S tier. Probably the best Godzilla figure they've put out so far. With definitely the size. The only thing I not a big fan of the light feature. It's a little bit annoying to mess around with it, but just the detailing on the figure more than makes up for any of the other little problems that it had. Gigan. I'm gonna actually toss Gigan in A. The only thing about Gigan that might be a little bit scary is just it has a lot of bits that could be breakable. but you get the chainsaw hands, you get the regular hands. Articulation's really sweet. It's just kind of gotta take your time with it. But to be honest, I don't think they could have really done Gigan any better than what they did with that release. Which I also want to say with Mogira. Mogira, I would say, is A as well. Actually, Mogira, I'm going to toss an S. Because the guy, even for the longest time, was as the same price as a lot of the Godzilla figures, but comes with so much stuff, and then it's nicely posable, looks exactly like the movie. Like, awesome figure. Could also do the Kiryus, which I would say it's all just pretty much movie dependent. Which one do you think is the better one? Personally, I think they're all pretty much right down the same row. With A, we'll toss them with the Gigants. Although, I think I got a little bit more of a soft spot for the regular release. Heavy Arms is sweet. But he was a pretty expensive Godzilla figure. But again, for the most part, for like each of the films, you kind of get most everything that you want. And then they even have the extra one with the battle damage effects. Same with Mechagodzilla for Heisei. I'm gonna toss. I'll say B. Like, he's a solid figure. The die cast on him actually kind of made him a little bit awkward to pose because of the weight distribution on him. That, and he does come with the beam effect, but for the most part, you kind of need to get the Garuda set to really get everything that you want out of it. Which that set I would toss into an A because it more or less gives you everything you want, except for I think the G Crush, I think it's called the G Crusher, the wires that come out of Mechagodzilla. You didn't get that unless you got the actual set, which is odd that Garuda isn't actually on here because it's technically I guess it's more of like an effects set. We got Godzilla Jr., which I'll toss in D. I know I had him much lower on the list originally for our disappointing ones, but like it's again not bad. I'm kind of surprised they also don't. Oh, okay, there's the reissue. He does come with the breath effect. This one came with the helicopter. Uh, Maybe I was gonna say I'm thinking about tossing that one up a little bit higher, but I think I'm gonna keep them in the same category. Just because the Godzilla Jr. figure just kind of, again, I don't think they could have really done it too much better, but the gapping on that figure is definitely off-putting for me. Like, it's kind of like I got him in a pose, and then he stays in that pose. And he's staying in that pose forever, which isn't quite what I want from a MonsterArts figure. Oh, we also have the special color one. For the regular release, we're gonna toss you in C. Kind of the same reason for the Con exclusive 2019. It's just a very niche figure for the exploding one. So you kind of gotta be on board with getting that figure. GMK, tossing in the A. A lot of the same reasons with the other Godzillas. For the most part, there isn't really too much of bad Godzillas for at least the first molds. Though he is definitely a lot more stylized than what you see in the original film, but still a very terrifying quote-unquote kaiju. They also have the new Heat Ray one, which I think they're pretty much about on par. You don't really get the accessories with it, but it's still kind of like a cool look for the monster, and it's still a really solid mold. But there isn't really like anything that's going to make it more off-putting than some of the other ones. The other thing too, I should probably mention it again for this guy here for being a B. That I don't really like that the tail, while being posable, especially on mine, it just lays flat. Like, I can't really like pose it upwards, which was always frustrating for me. Then we got the Space Godzillas, which there's the set that comes with Little Godzilla. We're gonna toss that one in A because, well, it is a different color than what you see in the film. It does come with the extra effect sets. Comes with Little Godzilla. You don't have to buy him individually. Little Godzilla, gonna toss in C. Like, it's nice that you get the crystals, but again, it's not really a wow figure. Like, it's posable, but barely. The regular Space Godzilla, tossing a B. My only real nitpick with this guy And the reason I don't have him in A is because there is a better version of him with the special color because it has more stuff. But you do get the beam effect. You do get some crystals with them. But him, I've noticed, and especially with some other people, is he's definitely more prone to nicking. And nicking is scuffing a lot easier than a lot of the other figures, especially with all the crystals and the glossy whites. It kind of makes him sort of similar to Gigan, where Gigan, when you pose them around, you have the risk of breaking them because you just got to pay attention a lot more. But that's kind of more the fault of the design of the kaiju, not the design of the toy. And Space Godzilla kind of falls in the same category where it had to be painted a certain way that also makes it worse in a way because of the issue of it being prone to scuffing. All the Rodan set. I'm actually going to toss that in D because while the Rodan is a really solid figure, the Mothra, on the other hand, is very lackluster, and especially at the paint job. And it's kind of the paint job between both of them. Like Mothra's wings look pretty nice, but they're almost the exact same color scheme as NECA and doesn't really quite match the movie. And the body, especially the body, the paint job doesn't match the movie very well. And the Rodan kind of falls in the same category where the Rodan, again, figure looks awesome, but the paint job just wasn't really there. And definitely need a lot more effort to be put into it to really make it higher up on the list. Uh, Original release King Ghidorah. I guess we could put the special color too. And put them in B. Main reason I got them both in B, because my preferred was still the original release one, because you get same color beams, looks great for the coloring. But they had the issue with the wings, where the wings are prone to breaking. Mine has had the issue, but I had issues with the stand breaking on mine, so I'm gonna toss that in B. Same with the special color version. A little off colored to the movie, but not bad. The only thing that bugs me mainly is the discolored beams, which makes it different than the original release and gives it more of a reason to be a thing. But between the two, I would much rather have the original set then. But then again, you also get the spaceship with it. So there's merits for each other, but if I had to pick one, it'd be the original release. 2003 Godzilla. I know mine had googly eyes, and the only thing I really have a nitpick with it is the neck seemed really kind of elongated. But then again, the monster also had a really elongated neck. So I'll toss him in A. Because, again, like the posability is really nice. Mecha King Ghidorah. This one I'm actually going to toss in A because I just really liked all the accessories that it came with. And then it kind of has some of the problem fixes that we had with the original King Ghidorah. But you pretty much get everything that you want, especially with the giant claws. It would have been cool if it would have had some beams. If it would have had some beams, we would have tossed it into the S class. But I think A is a fitting spot. And then the last two, which are the weird ones, and I don't even really understand why this one's here because it was actually like a different line. I'll toss him in B because I think it's a cool figure, but the transforming's kind of weird on it, and then you gotta mess around with a lot of things. Looks nice, but for the most part, especially for me, after doing the videos and stuff, he hasn't really been played with too much. And then finally, we got the 2019 King Ghidorah. If you guys know, wasn't a fan. It's a nice looking figure, and definitely a very imposing figure on the shelf. But with the solid wings was kind of disappointing, and then just like with these guys, the paint job's disappointing. And then I need to have it on the stands because the weight kind of pops the joints out, and then if it tips, it's prone to breaking. And there was just a lot of issues with this guy where I just can't really condone having it above a lot of these because it's just like even these ones, like they're solid figures by themselves, but a few issues here and there that kind of hinder them for me. While these ones on here, and the reason why I got them at F is because I just feel like both of these definitely needed a lot more tweaking with what they came with in the packages and the designs of the figures than pretty much most everything else on the list. Usually it's just like a couple of things here and there that kind of shift them up and down. Well, these guys had a bulk of items that really makes me wish they would have went back to the drawing board a little bit on those. But anyways, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of the list. Do you guys have your own? Let us know in the comment section below what your guys' favorite, least favorites, all of that shenanigans, and help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a ranger today. We also got Instagram, Patreon, Pinterest, Facebook. Guys like to keep up to date with the channel and donate. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.